Hey everyone, this is Chris here from Better Music, and this is the Arturia Minibrute Mark II, and this is the Arturia Bryan.
Hi Chris, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Tell us about it, Bryan.
Minibrute 2, fully analog synthesizer from Arturia. Lot of fun. The original Minibrute came out almost 7 years ago.
Gosh, time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun with a Minibrute.
Yeah.
At the time it was quite revolutionary because you didn't really get a fully analog monophonic synthesizer.
Oh yeah.
At that price point. You got them, but they were very, very expensive. So when that product came out, the timing was kind of right because a lot of people had graduated from the software instruments and they were ready to try synthesis on a physical analog unit. So they'd already learnt about synthesis and they wanted to move on to a hardware format. And it was very powerful, huge fat sound, analog, monosynth. Timing was right. So after about 5-6 years, we thought to ourselves, it's probably time for a bit of an upgrade. Our customers who've had the Minibrute have developed. They've learnt more about synthesis. They probably wanted something new. In that time, we developed things like the Matrix Brute and the Drum Brute. And of course, we brought out the Micro Brute as well.
Yeah.
So by developing a product like the Matrix Brute, we thought, okay, we know how to do this. We're ready to bring out a second version of the Minibrute. Went to the drawing board and thought, well, what would we like for ourselves? So we decided to make a few tweaks on that. You know, we've got more skills. Technology has developed so we can get an even better sound out of it. But we knew that we like patching, like we've got in the Matrix Brute. So we decided that we wanted to make a standalone analog synthesizer with patching so that you can do internal routing, so assign essentially anything to anything. But we also know that a lot of people are into external hardware. So not only do we want to be able to patch things internally, but we want to be able to patch them into external modular or Eurorack. So by having this patch bay here, you can do both. You can do it internally or externally, or both at the same time. So what we've ended up with is a 2 oscillator, very powerful monophonic synthesizer.
So is there any of the old Brute?
There's plenty of the old Brute here. We've still got exactly the same filter. It's a Steiner filter. We've got the Brute factor on this. It sounds slightly different to the original.
Yeah, it sounds different to me.
We've been able to make it in such a way that, you know, with the circuitry, it's got just a bit more punch to it.
Yeah. It sounds a bit nicer to me.
It sounds nicer, but also nastier. We wanted to have something that if you wanted it to be clean, you know, just for the nice, clean lead sounds, you can do it. Yeah. But if you wanted to add grit to it, if you wanted to scare people, you can do that with the Minibrute too. Before
you take us through the different section, is there any truth to the rumour that Daft Punk made a special request to Arturia to create this Mark II Minibrute?
We couldn't possibly comment on that. They are a very secretive bunch and we can't share their secrets.
Okay, just checking.
But I will take you through this.
Okay.
Right, so
there you go.
As far as synthesizers are concerned, it's quite a standard layout. We needed to keep it fairly simple so that people can just get it, they can switch it on and they can start making their own sound. So we start off with the VCO1. You've got your different waveforms that you can bring in.
Yep.
You've got the metalizer over there as well, which is a lot of fun. It's basically a waveform bender.
Okay.
So by bringing in these different parts, it's subtractive synthesis. So when you start off, it's got everything going through there. And by playing around with the mixer section, you're bringing in really different types of waveforms to add them all up. You can bring in the noise as well.
Yeah.
So you can have just noise. Bring it in. You've got an external input as well. So if you took a guitar, you could plug your guitar in, that would be the sound source, and then you can take that through the filter section. So it's kind of fun, and you can do a heck of a lot with that. But you've also got the second oscillator, and that's got its own individual tuning as well, as does the first oscillator. So if we go, how they interact with each other. So with this one, you've got quite a few waveforms to play with, and here you've got the waveforms on a selectable switch. But you could also have that to act as an LFO. So if you flick that to LFO, then the tune knob acts as an LFO rate. So very quickly, you've got quite a powerful,
quite a fat sound,
quite a fat bass sound.
It's almost scary.
It is scary. We want it to be scary. We want people to get hands-on with this and go, where the hell did that come from? Hopefully that's a sound that you'll be able to use. If you don't like it, turn a few knobs and start again. Going through to the filter section, so we use the Steiner-Parker filter. That's a filter that we use on the Matrix Brute and our other Brute products as well. Because it's quite musical, it sounds good, but it's got the nastiness as well, so you can really turn it up, find your sweet spot, and create something that's got a bit of attitude to it. Then we've got the ADSR off the envelope section here. So you can play around with that. So the attack, the release, the sustain. And then we've got something called Brute Factor, which is quite fun. So really what the Brute Factor knob does is taking the signal from VCO1, VCO2, into the filter section. By turning this up, it's taking it from the output of the amp section back into the filter section a second time. So if I give you a quick little demonstration.
So it's kind of like a distortion, but not.
Yeah, it's more running itself into itself.
Yes.
But you can use it as a distortion, so you can find these harmonics. You can create quite an unusual drive. And by playing around with the filter section, because of course it's doubling up on itself, you can really create kind of interesting sounds. And then on the master, we've got the attack and the decay. So if you want to a more sustained note, but you can do fun things like use the these switches here. So switch it on loop mode.
Oh, okay, that's very cool.
Do that. So it's kind of like an LFO that you've got going. So I showed you can use this one as an LFO, but you've got the dedicated LFO here on the left-hand side as well.
Unless you've done that on a video before, I bet you no one knows that trick.
I think people try it and then they figure out by accident. But for rhythms and specifically for sound design, like if you're doing sound design for a film where someone's walking down a dark alley and you want to get some intensity, you can really bring that up. Play around with the octaves.
It's very cool.
And of course you can take that through external effects as well. You've got the master output, run it through a few effects. And then we've got the patch bay on this side as well.
Would you like a patch lead?
I would love a patch lead. Thank you very much. A nice green patch lead.
And that's how they come too.
They come with patch cables in the box already. So a lot of people will just get this unit, they'll put it on their desk and they'll use it as a standalone unit. And then once you've got an understanding of synthesis, and maybe you've got 1, 2, 3, 20 external bits of hardware, you can patch into that. So there are quite a few things. When you buy this product, it comes with, we call it a cookbook. And really it's like a little flip calendar. And it shows you the recipes of how to create a sound. Firstly, by not using any patching. And then if you need to understand how the patching works, it's just to guide you along. And it's very useful because you can learn some very, very interesting things. So how to create a crazy metal sounding bass sound or a nice pad or something that's got a good pattern going in. So with the patch bay, play around, see what you can come up with. If you do something wrong, it doesn't matter. You just unpatch it and try. You can't break it. So what we'll do in this one is we'll take the LFO out and we'll take it into the VCO to control the pitch of VCO2, because it says there, pitch in of VCO2. So that's usually what it sounds like. We patch it in. So we've got the and that's just 2 patch connection points I've made. You can do a whole bunch more. It's got a whole lot of movement to it and sounds that aren't just a few waveforms going together, but you really manipulate the shape of them.
Those cards that you were talking about will help people to just get started.
It will.
And I suppose the important thing is you can't break it with you. The worst that's going to happen is that you'll get the modular sickness and
that's probably the worst that will happen. But Chris, everyone has hobbies. Some people are into motorbikes or vintage cars.
Or golf.
Other people are into golf.
Golf, expensive hobby.
It's very expensive. Fishing as well. You know, some of these modern day rods, I tell you, Chris, they cost an absolute fortune. So I would highly recommend that people get into hardware synthesizers and modular equipment.
Yeah, well,
and you can sit around and do it in your pants at home.
That's a life tip from Bryan.
I charge per hour.
Yeah, that's fantastic. They're gonna like this back home.
I hope they do. I really hope they do. Yeah. Other features this thing has got, getting back to the subject of the day. So let's take that out. With this, we've got an arpeggiator and a step sequencer. So you yourself are very familiar with the key step that we make. We've thought, well, why should we just make it a super cool synth with a nice keyboard? We've included the key step really in there. So you've got the sequencer mode and you've got the arpeggiator mode with the same various patterns, you know, the different modes, the time divisions, and of course you can control the rate. So if we do that, you've got a nice little pattern on the go. You can change the rate of that, and you can...
Now, was this the same sound that was on a second ago?
That's the same sound a second ago, apart from the patch cables now in my hand. I could put that in there and then we'd have exactly the same sound. So you can use various different patterns. Or you can save your own patterns as well. Or we put that on ARP mode. Two notes together. So it's a lot of fun you can have just by putting it on to get some inspirational ideas. Or if you're someone like me who usually likes arpeggiated bass lines, just switch it onto ARP mode and you're ready to go.
How do you go about recording your own sequence?
You've got the record button over there. So exactly the same as the key step.
A good start.
You hit record. So let's push stop. You'd hit record, play in your notes, and then you'd be ready to go. Pretty straightforward. And you can save those patterns as well. As with most of our other instruments as well, you've got internal, USB, MIDI, and clock. So it's got MIDI connections. So if you wanted, you could use this as a MIDI controller keyboard. Now, it's a mono synth, but the keyboard is poly. So you could use it as a polyphonic synthesizer for either external sound modules or virtual instruments. So if you've thinking about getting a controller keyboard and a synthesizer, well, this is 2-in-1. It's all controlling everything together. Clock, I can have this clocked to external drum machines that have got clock in or out. I can set this as master or slave. Can have it to receive MIDI, of course, if I've got something else and I just want to have my synth on the other side of the room. So all in all, a very, very powerful analog synthesizer. We've put a lot into this. It sounds pretty huge for quite a small unit still, but the patching capabilities, you don't have to use it, but if you get into it, if you follow the recipes in the cookbook, you can create some pretty interesting things.
It's like a gateway drug to.
It is.
to
We're offering it to you. You don't have to accept it.
You're like the pusher.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. And to tempt people even more, we've made something called the Rack Brute.
Yes. Yeah.
So the Rack Brute is a rack case that
Yes.
fits just at the back, and it connects on the sides here via the link system. So you do a 3U to put some modules in there.
So this is actually called the link system.
That is called the link system, yeah. And then you do the 6U. That's kind of the equivalent of a pedal board for a guitarist. You know, you get a nice big pedal board, you put a few pedals on, and you know that you're going to get some more. So you might as well, get the big one. And it fits directly on top. And if you wanted to go play your show, you just fold it down like a suitcase, carry it by the back, and you're ready to go. We did that because we know that there is that modular scene out there, and people are taking the modular units out live. So it spent 3 days finding that perfect patch.
Ooh, yeah.
And then they have to play live, and they have to unplug everything, get to the venue, open it up, and then repatch everything. So we've kind of gone down the laptop or the suitcase folding, so it folds down like that, and you don't have to take everything out. You can get to your show, switch this on. The Rack Brute does have a power supply as well, so on, you're ready to entertain the crowds.
On, game
on.
Yeah.
I think we've just got a new slogan there. Yeah. Well done.
It's like I can't turn it off.
Not just the pretty face.
Call it a gift.
Some might.
I was going to name these things too, but they're already named.
They're already. What would your suggestion have been?
I don't know. I was going to say that I think they need a name, but they've got one. Yeah.
They've got a name,
Yeah.
and these are open to other companies as well. So at the moment we're using them on our products, but other companies might and will be using them on their products too. So the Rack Brute can sit alongside their drum machines or sequencer.
Could we perhaps be going to see some Arturia Eurorack modules in the future? Is it?
The companies that make Eurorack now do them very, very well. And Arturia is still a small company.
Yeah.
We would love to make them, but in the short term, there aren't any plans to do that. We've got our product. This is still a pretty new product as well, so we've still got to really push this in.
Because because you're making the racks.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we made the racks because we know that people do need rack units, and they're very, very expensive. And they're going to the hardware store and buying pieces of wood and trying to make it themselves. So no one's really making good quality racks at an affordable price. And we thought, well, because we've got this, we can make rack units. A lot of people are getting the rack units who don't own this. They just use them to store the units that they've already got. So it's kind of a gift
they're
to
a
them.
beautiful looking thing. If we were any good, we'd have one here to show you right now. But
this is where you pan the screenshot left to right of the Rack Brute unit.
And we'll have a look at one just over there. We could do that. Well, thanks, Bryan. This has been the Minibrute Mark II, and this has been Bryan from Arturia Mark I.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Lovely to be here.
Yeah.